Here at the Giver Marketing Network, we don't leave you drifting out in space. We connect you to a coach who will help you build and grow your marketing business. Our process acts as a guide on how to connect with other businesses, maintain good relations, and establish a presence on the Giver Marketing Network. Each member within this collaborative group will have the opportunity to leverage your talent and influence, a true network effect. If you are looking to collaborate on more projects, welcome to the Giver Marketing Network, the most trusted and highest rated collective of specialists on the planet. Here we have a group of like-minded professionals who focus on making valuable introductions and helping each other grow by teaming up. Imagine Upwork meets a network and a coach. The talent collectively includes services like visibility and SEO, creating logos, designing websites, managing social media, outreach messaging, visual storytelling, and much more. Think of what you could do with laser-focused allies strengthening your business while offering your talents to the entire network. Click near this video for more information.
Hey, welcome to the Giver Marketing Network broadcast here with Rob Turley, the RevOps Hitman. You may already know him, but if you don't, check him out. Look him up on LinkedIn right now. Even as we're about to ask him a little bit about his background, his story, how he got to do what he's doing, look him up right now. Even as you're watching this, just click up another tab, look up Rob Turley, say, hey, I saw you on the Giver broadcast. It'll be super fun for you to connect with him. But hey, Rob, with that, we've been friends for a while now. We've been working together, working on different projects, making introductions, generating revenue for each other in one way, shape, or form. And that's you, man. You're the RevOps Hitman. Tell us a little bit more about your background. For those who don't know you, how do you got to do what you're doing? And what is RevOps? Come on, help everybody out here.
Sure. So RevOps is short for revenue operations. And revenue operations is an incredible new thing. It's not really new, but it's new modern day revenue operations. And I was in the game very, very early with that to try to operationalize companies, make them more data driven, have the right tech stack that they need, build the process architecture necessary for an effective sales process, for a go-to-market strategy, for targeting, everything that surrounds revenue generation from let's say sales to marketing to customer success to product and engineering / service delivery to procurement, having them work together as a unified, de-siloed team. And that's the key word, is de-siloed. De-siloing a company is important. That we're literally, companies are built in divisions, which means it's divided. And when they're divided, I mean, how many times have you seen the sales team pointing fingers at the marketing team saying, hey, it's their fault? Because they can't market to the people we need to sell to. And then vice versa, the sales team at the exact same time is pointing their finger at the marketing team saying, or the other way around, the marketing team's pointing their finger at the sales team saying, well, they can't close a deal. And it's neither, really. Generally, it's the lack of communication, the lack of data aggregation, data tracking, and process that's preventing them from truly working together as a unified team. So that's where I come into play in more cases than not, or new product market fit and all of that. To give you a little background on myself, is that I came into RevOps actually by accident. So it became a necessity, really. That's pretty much the long and short of it, is that I had an AI company, started that. It was for predictive analytics for sales and marketing. Know who's a fit before you reach out to them. And we found out that very quickly, actually, businesses were not ready for an AI solution. This was 7 years ago, maybe almost 8 now. They weren't ready for an AI solution because the data they aggregated, the customer data, the CRM data, it was not suitable. It was so messy, and the processes didn't support it and everything. So it was kind of like, okay, had to take the position as the CEO to start consulting these clients and helping them with implementation, helping them with revenue operations and restructuring all their processes. They're able to use the product and talk about what's it called, a knowing doing gap. Talk about a gap with adoption. It was like impossible to sell it because no one could use it. But once they did, it became extremely effective. So that's kind of where I come from. Before that, software dev. Before that, a marketing communications PR company. Before that, I had my own, what's it called? Stores, rocker auctions, cleaning out attics for free, taking stuff that were collectibles, being able to start selling those as merch to different places, trading things like that. But I've been all over the map with pretty much everything.
It sounds like you started early and you started playing and having some fun as a young entrepreneur, and then now you're developing into this powerhouse of a revenue operations hitman, if you will, and really going in and solving these problems that you just mentioned.
Today I pinpoint the issues in Snighton. It's all about root causal analysis. It's actually an engineering term, but I turned it into a sales and marketing type process where I'm able to pinpoint what the problem is. A lot of people, let's say if there's an issue with they say, oh, I have a problem with the top of funnel. And then I take a look at everything from top to bottom, talk to the leadership, talk to people at the bottom, analyze the data. Then I'm like, okay, no, you don't have a top of the funnel issue. The top of funnel issue is a symptom of an issue with your product development and CS team. That's what's causing your top of the funnel to go down. That's a whole different story for another time, but it's finding the root cause.
Well, hey, today we're going to talk about CRM. What do these three letters mean to a business, and why in the world are we spending 45 minutes on this? Like, what's so special about these three letters?
So CRM is customer relationship management. It's a platform. It's like, you've probably heard of Salesforce, you've heard of HubSpot, you've heard of maybe Pipedrive, Go High Level, whatever it may be, right? But the whole point of a CRM is to collect your customer data, your prospect data, and use it as a tool for a unified point of truth, or a centered point of truth. So you understand what's going on, what sales activities happened, what your performance rate is, your close rate, your pipeline tracking, everything, all the major food groups you need as a sales, marketing, or CS organization in one place. And that should actually expand out. The data from the CRM should expand out even further into your accounting team, into your accounts receivable, accounts payable team. It should expand out into your product team. And they should all be connected. So it is absolutely critical to have a CRM. A lot of people are still using spreadsheets. You can think of a CRM as a glorified spreadsheet. That really is what it is. But with all the workflow automations and different innovations, technologies that exist within it, it is imperative to be using something like that, or you're going to fall behind the rest.
So from an operations standpoint, you're looking at all the pieces and you're saying, look, this CRM has to be central to everybody's communication point. Otherwise, you're going to end up, like you said earlier in our conversation before we went live, you're going to end up confusing people, maybe even communicating with people in a way that does not make sense. So let's dive into it. Let's bring up the visuals today, Rob. Show and tell for us today. What a treat. Thank you for preparing this. And let's rock and roll. I'm here as a co-pilot, just kind of here asking questions that maybe the audience is thinking about. And by the way, if you're watching this live or even recorded, pop some comments, some notes, some thoughts, some ideas in the comments right now as you're talking.
I'm happy to do a Q&A too at the end around different let's say if I don't cover the CRM that you're thinking of, or one that you've heard of, one that you're deciding upon or want to migrate to. I'm familiar with over 700 CRMs. So I've been in the game a while in that sense. So it's any questions I can answer, say whether it's good for this, that, or the other thing. But we're about to learn today what the different moving parts are. And you have no idea how many times people ask me per week, oh, which CRM should I use? Is this a good CRM? Those questions come to me all the time through LinkedIn, through email, everything. It's crazy. So we're going to get into this. So the name of this is Choose the Right CRM for You. And by you, I mean your organization. If you're a solopreneur, holler at you. Great. Everybody loves a good solopreneur. So it would be directly for you, but hopefully it becomes more than just you after that point. And having a CRM is one of the first steps you should take. Any client that comes to me saying, I want to work with you, if they don't have a CRM, that is the absolute step one in the process. As long as they have a business plan and they already have like a product or something, that's a different story. But if they have something that they're selling, they must have a CRM, because otherwise it makes everything else to grow and scale the business extremely difficult. And what that also means is that you're going to hit a glass ceiling if you're not using a CRM. You're not going to be able to grow the company to a certain point, because this will limit you. I promise it will limit you. So it's worth the adoption. It's worth the education process. So the acronym of the day, we already talked about this in the beginning, it's CRM. And what we're trying to say here is that the future of your business is everything. That's your livelihood. It's your employees' livelihood. You want growth. You want scalability. You want everything that you can have to make it possible so that you can live your best life, you can have your best business, and you can support your family the way that you've always wanted to, or indulge yourself in the desires of life. Live a better, happier life. Have more. Be more bountiful, right? So moving forward, we're going to get into the agenda here, and we're going to be talking about several different types of CRMs. This, of course, is the most famous CRM in the world. They were the first to market, and fun fact, they actually dumped 70% of all the revenue that they made for the first 10 years of the company existing to become the enterprise standard. That was their secret. 70% of all revenue went into the marketing budget. Crazy. So yeah, that's a fact. So Salesforce, people think that they need to step up to Salesforce. Like they're not ready yet. That's the enterprise solution, or, we should start with it because it's going to become something bigger, better, better. There are some drawbacks. So I'm not a big Salesforce fan myself, and this is the reason why. If you look at the boxes you need to check for something to be considered a CRM, Salesforce is not a CRM. It's actually an LMS. It's a lead management system. It was built back in the 90s, and it was built specifically for consumer products, like selling consumer products online, being able to track that data. So it was actually a consumer lead management tool back when the dot-com boom happened for e-commerce. They never really changed the back-end framework. They relied upon a large marketplace. Their marketplace is incredible. It's the largest CRM partnership and technology-based marketplace out of any other CRM in the world. So they have that. It's just that it's not that you need to upgrade to it or you need to step up, or if you're using something like a HubSpot, use something like a Pipedrive, we need to move to Salesforce when we start growing. Well, it can actually become a liability. It doesn't function the way that you need it to. It's not a full-on CRM. You need to get a lot of external technologies you have to pay for. You also need either a dev team, or you need to hire on one of the Salesforce consultants to build it out. So to build a proper deployment of Salesforce, it's going to run you anywhere between $120,000 to $250,000. It usually lands somewhere around $150K. So the deployment, it's not an out-of-the-box solution whatsoever. Salesforce out of the box is not suitable as a CRM for any business. And I mean that to the truest extent. It's a shame. They should do something about it, but they've become so reliant upon their marketplace that they just went that direction. So Salesforce is good for a lot of reasons. They've been around for a long time. Their customer support is really great. It's something very customizable, where if you're an enterprise, like a large enterprise, you can build out a custom deployment of Salesforce to do whatever it is that you want. But then it's arguable, why not just build your own CRM, because it's going to take the same amount of dev work. So just think about that. Now we'll move into something that's the exact opposite in a sense, where Salesforce is no out of the box. HubSpot is probably, at least in my experience, the best out of the box CRM I have ever had the pleasure of being graced with. I use it myself, actually. I'm not trying to sell HubSpot because I'm very non-biased. It depends on your business. It depends on your company. It depends on what you need the CRM to do. HubSpot may not be the best option for you. Like one of my clients is they're a loan broker. HubSpot it can be used for that because it's so universal, but it's not the best thing for them. Or a CPA. And I have another client that's a CPA. The best selection for them was actually ActiveCampaign, which is like a watered down version of HubSpot. Though the way that their marketing suite works in ActiveCampaign, I believe personally, is better than HubSpot's. And the way that they generate their leads, the way that the process works, ActiveCampaign is a far more appropriate tool for them to be using. So it just depends. But HubSpot is the best out of the box, and it is also extremely customizable and has the second largest marketplace that you can get third-party apps of integrating. And there are people who built entire businesses around HubSpot. There are technology solutions that built entire businesses around HubSpot, like outplayhq.com. One of the best sequencers out there, their HubSpot integration is flawless. Every single object, every single aspect of the CRM, including email tracking, including activity tracking, performance tracking, everything else, lead generation, like lead intake, all of that. Outplay HQ integrates with HubSpot's flawlessly. So it's great. So there's a lot of good technologies out there. HubSpot has some of the best direct integrations, and integrated technologies you're going to find are one of the number one reasons to go with a specific CRM, as long as it functions the way that you need to. So this is the most universal. It's great for complex or more simple selling processes. though there are better options for really like truly transactional sales processes. So as an example of that, let me get into it. There's Monday.com first and foremost. The reason I wanted to step into this is that this is more so a CRM different from the other two. This was built upon a framework of a project management platform. So if you're a web dev company, if you're a custom software dev company, Monday works really great because it has all the project management tools and the dev tools. That was like the preface of the whole thing. It was built for that. Then it became a CRM. It's a very good CRM. It works well to track your data, but it's more complex and you need to, it's out of the box, it works, but you really do need to customize it to make it do what you need it to do. It doesn't have all of like the sales automation and data tracking features that you would see within something like HubSpot, but that can be built into it. So it also works for coaches because you can create programs or different boxes people have to check for their productivity or for different tasks that they complete. And you can invite people outside of your organization to the CRM with limited access so you can see what the performance of your clients are, if they've completed homework tasks, things like that, and they can engage with it and log into it, which is very uncommon for a CRM to allow. And they did so with a very high security level where they don't have access to anything they shouldn't. So this is another flavor of CRM. Now we have Pipedrive. I was talking about before is that, HubSpot could be used for a simpler sales process where it's more transactional. When someone, you offer something to someone and then they say, yes or no, I'd like to buy it. It's a couple $100, maybe less, very transactional. This is a very low budget option. If you're talking about more complex sales with more complexity around data, Pipedrive does not have good data actionability. But if you have a really simple sales process, that's only like, 2 steps, 3 steps to the close, you don't need all of that. So Pipedrive is a great, inexpensive solution. It integrates with quite a few things. So I have nothing against Pipedrive. It just depends on your business. So let's say you're selling Timothy, what would be a good simple product that would be more transactional, you think, for businesses?
Gosh, I mean, if you're selling software maybe or some kind of product, a physical product.
I feel like a physical product, like say office supplies.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah,
that would be a great thing to use Pipedrive for. Or if you're selling one-off things, like so, for example, you're a consultant and you're just selling workshops, one-to-one in-person workshops. Then Pipedrive is really all you need. It's not a complex sale; it's just one-off sales. So think of it as transactional or one-off sales. They're buying a product once. Maybe they could buy again. You could do re-engagement campaigns through Pipedrive, but it's more so a simple sale. It's either they need it or they don't. More binary, if that makes sense.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. So moving forward, now on the exact opposite of the simple sale, I tried setting this up in a way that we're going back and forth of like opposites and showing really, really different flavors, colors, structures of different CRMs. Membrane. Very little known CRM out there. I believe it was developed in Sweden. I know the folks over there, they're good people. They built something incredible. Now, if you have a more transactional sale or a sales pipeline that's pretty straightforward, simpler, like even a consultant is a simple sales pipeline because you have the initial discovery, you've got the decision maker buy-in, win over one decision maker, then you have the buyer party team buy-in, and then you have the proposal period. And then you have the from the proposal accepted to the contracting period, then you have the close, right? That it's really simple 6-step close. That's something where Membrane may not be for you. Now, if you sell to enterprises, even if you're a small business and you're selling an enterprise solution where enterprises need it, Membrane is specifically for extremely complex and extremely long sales cycle selling. If your sale takes more than 6 months to close, if you need to get 7 decision makers involved where you're multi-threading out the yin yang, right? Membrane is incredible because their data tracking, performance tracking, all of the insights and metrics that you can get, how granular, how specific, and how incredibly molecular this thing can get. If you have a complex sale, if you have an extremely long sales cycle, if you're selling enterprise, and you don't sell that many per year, let's say, you only have to sell 2 instances of whatever if it's a service, if it's a product, to keep the company afloat with plenty of people in the company. And that's growth. Membrane is the one that you want to use. I can't even get into the different pieces and parts of this. Why? Because for every company, it is so specific of what they need to know about their sales cycle, what they need to know about their sales team performance, their activity, and all of that. Just how dang specific it gets. Membrane is the one to go. So Timothy, would you like to expound on that at all or ask any questions about this? Because I'm not explaining it in a way that makes it. If you want to give me an example, or if you have questions or are confused about what I'm saying, I'd like to hear it.
No, I'm just thinking there's folks that are going to be listening to this either live or recorded, and they're going to want to ask questions at this point because you've just gone through, 3 or 4 different CRMs that can help you get more organized, make sure that your team is communicating well. Even if you have a small team, whether it's a team of 400 or 4, like these tools can really get you going in the right direction, depending on how much time or resources you have to be able to build them out will determine and you want to talk to Rob about how to implement this. So I'm thinking there's certain products and services they just take, like you said, they take they're longer sales cycle. And I can't think of one right off the top of my head right this second, but if there's
government sales.
There you go.
If you're selling
I should have thought of that the first thing, Rob.
There's a company
say the word
that
government
sells,
and it's longer. Yes, good.
There's
point.
a company that sells warships, like literal warships, and they use membrane because it's the only thing that they could track all those tiny little moving parts within the sale because of how complicated the sale is. Things like that, or someone who's selling an enterprise solution, like a really complex software. Let's say it's like an ERP. Something like that. If anybody doesn't know what an ERP, SAP is the number one example of an ERP. Think about it as like logistics, distribution, looking at all of your inventory, all of that. They're using a very complex thing. That covers everything, but it's not a very good CRM. As much as they have those features and how much they want to be good, it's not good for that purpose, especially if you're selling B2C and B2B, where you're going to want to use membrane for the B2B side of the business or the B2G, business to government side of the business. Mm-hmm. But then everything else runs through let's say SAP. And then SAP has many different types where it's like there's business one, there's business by design, and then there are the mid-market and enterprise solutions that they release. So it doesn't make the cut with being able to track, manage, analyze, and execute all of your sales, all of your marketing. It's just not possible to do within, but they try to do it through one of those all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you get started with something. That's why we're here today, right? You get started with something, and it takes more time to unwind it than it does to try to maybe get going on a more appropriate solutions. Can you speak to that, Rob? Like, how much time does it generally take to unwind a tool that really hasn't been designed for your particular use case?
Well, that means you should probably be using a different tool more times than not.
Okay.
That's the secret behind it, is that, let's force this to make it work.
Okay.
That's generally the wrong decision to make because you're going to rack up technical debt. You're going to have to dig yourself out of the hole in the future. You don't want that. I dig people out of a hole for a living, and more times than not. And digging someone out of the hole is way more time consuming and way more expensive. Something that I'd be able to solve for $15,000 if it was, green pastures, it's open, it's blue ocean, where they didn't dig themselves into a hole. Maybe they made some mistakes, but it hasn't been built yet. Let's say I could solve that for $15,000, $25,000. If someone dug themselves into a hole, that's when you start seeing it go up to $50,000, $75,000, $150,000 to undo all of the mistakes. Choosing the right CRM will prevent you from racking up that technical debt. If anybody's not familiar with technical debt, it's actually originally an engineering term that turned into a CFO term. It was kind of like a baby between the two. But it means that what you've done is that the mistakes you've made, the processes you've developed that are ineffective, the technologies you adopted that aren't the technologies you should be using, is that it's blocking you from growth. It's blocking you from profitability. There's redundancy built in the system, all of that. The glass ceiling is formed and you're punching it, but you can't break through. It's bulletproof glass. How do you get that rocket to break that bulletproof glass? It's generally we have to re-operationalize the company. That's where it becomes a serious issue that is very, very, very expensive. Because if you keep digging the hole, people keep picking up the shovel instead of the rope when they're stuck in a hole, thinking it's the rope. And then I have to come in and show them, hey, look, this is the rope. You have to climb yourself out and you need to fill in that hole. And it's a mile wide, a mile deep. It gets very, very bad at times. So you want to.
So it's better to get, what I'm hearing is better to get kind of make the shift early as opposed to just letting it linger and letting it.
The longer you let it fester, the worse it gets. It's just like a wound. If you have a cut, if it gets infected, the longer you let it fester, the worse it gets, where you may lose the arm because gangrene formed. And all you needed to do was scrape it, go to a doctor, scrape it out, sew it up, and put an antibiotic on it. You were going to be fine. What would that cost you? What, $500? And then now you have to go to the hospital to get an amputation. You no longer have an arm. And you just spent, what, $100,000 to get your arm chopped off?
Yeah. So you're saying really assess this properly, talk to you or others that can make sure that you're making some good decisions for your.
Do it once, do it right. If it's not done right for you right now, that means that take care of the problem immediately. If you have a small business, if you're not using a CRM yet, if you're a solopreneur and you don't have the right processes and technology set up, you really put the investment. I know it seems expensive. I know it's going to cost you something, but you will not regret it, because in the future, it will save you so much time, so much money, so much heartache and headache. Really, do it once, do it right the first time, and adopt the technology that is scalable too. That's another thing, is that if your business is never going to get over 25 people because you're more of a lifestyle business type of person, then Pipedrive for example, Pipedrive would serve you just fine. Go High Level will serve you just fine. Now, if you're going to grow your company to 500, 1,000 people, those CRMs cannot support that large of a business. They're not made for that. So
that's
with what your future is going to be, it needs to serve you perfectly now, but it also needs to serve you in the future, because CRM migrations are extremely expensive. They average out to about $125,000 a pop. I'm able to pull them off personally for about $35,000, $40,000. Because I've been in the game a long time and I'm really good with data, but that's not me trying to sell myself. I'm saying that's the cheapest you can get it done. Really.
Got it. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing the real talk there, Rob. That's what I love about working with you is you definitely aren't afraid of sharing your opinion, your experience, your background, and you're going through you've gone through all the heartache for us. Like, that Monday might be better for this, or Pipedrive might be better for this. But
I was watching one company that I worked with. They were losing $8.6 million a year in the failure to remarket customers for renewals, because they didn't have their accounts or the companies in their CRM tied to the individual people. And if they had multiple emails, they didn't integrate those together and dedupe them. So you had multiple emails of one person. They were all separate contact records. So they would be reaching out to people that it wasn't even an email that functioned anymore. They don't even work at that company anymore. They didn't even know who the account was. They didn't know what businesses they were selling to. They knew the people. They say, oh no, I left that job. They're like, oh, we don't have anybody else to talk to there. How are we supposed to get a renewal? But they're bleeding $8.6 million a year in the failure for renewals, because their CRM data tracking around their companies and their clients, the individuals was not congruent. It wasn't structured that way, and it wasn't tied to the deals. So all the objects were considered separate, and they were bleeding money, and there was also preventing them from closing new business. They also insulted existing customers, because their salespeople were reaching out to people on LinkedIn through email of business that work at businesses that were already clients. And that's almost an insult. It's saying, hey, I've been your client for 3 years. Why are you selling me something right now? They actually had churn or customer attrition from them reaching out to customers trying to sell them when they already bought it. So they said, okay, you guys obviously don't have your stuff together, so we're going to drop you as a provider. They went to their competitor.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. I'm using something that doesn't really make sense anymore, because your customer service isn't really dialed in well. Okay,
they don't even know I'm a customer. How would you feel as a client spending thousands of dollars a year for a service, and then they reach out to you trying to sell you something?
Good. Great point. Tell us a little bit more about what you have for us today. So what are some of the keys here that you want us to make sure we remember?
The key here, that's why I just changed the slide. So perfect timing on that, Timothy. The key is to have a CRM that has the features, the qualities, the process potential, the process architecture potential, the automation potential that you need so that you can run your business properly, have full transparency, forecastability, predictable revenue, and it does the heavy lifting for you. If you have a ton of manual processes that are those menial day-to-day processes where even a robot can do it, and you find yourself spending all of your time doing that or avoiding tracking data, tracking process, tracking things in the CRM because of how much of a lift it is to do so, it means that it's either not set up properly, or it means that you have the wrong CRM, or you're using third-party technologies outside of your CRM that don't integrate, and you should switch those to ones that do. It's only going to make your life harder.
Okay. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be thinking something right now, so I'm just going to say it out loud. Well, hey, I use this CRM, or hey, my friend uses this CRM, or hey, I'm a 7-figure business growing to 8 figures. What about me? And what about this? And all the different like nuanced questions. And we'll get to that in just a few minutes, the best we can with questions and answer time. But any other thoughts around this topic, Rob, that can kind of just set the stage for a good decision-making tree?
Yeah. So first you need to kind of take a globalized look, or, you know what, a lot of people don't even know that they have a problem until they speak to someone like myself. If you're not sure, if you're unsure, or you feel like you're putting in too much time into things or something's not working the way that it should be, there is a solution for it. I promise you there is. And that's talking to someone like me if you're not sure. But the first step that you should take, and even if it's not me, somebody else like me, it doesn't matter. It's just that you need to speak to a professional if you're unsure, if you've never built out, enterprise level or even small business level, just truly functional CRM technology, client management tools, all of that, or missing pieces of the puzzle, being able to fill those gaps that exist. But the first step is to take a look at the entire equation, saying, okay, with my organization, my team, let's say my sales team, my marketing team, both, or the entire organization as a business, if you're a solopreneur looking at what your processes look like, do you see a lot of dead deals in your CRM where they've been stale forever and they haven't moved out of the pipeline? Do you see a stopgap where you lose a ton of deals, where your pipeline gets super fat in the middle where it shouldn't be, because it's like a funnel? It should look like this in a perfect world. It's not a perfect world. If your targeting's really good, it closes, and it becomes more parallel. That's great. So if you have a big lump in the middle where things are stalling, that means that you have a problem. If you look at your CRM and you open up a contact record for a deal and you don't even know why you were reaching out to them, what the deal was about, what problem they needed to solve, you're not tracking the information. A lot of salespeople, a lot of company owners think, oh, I'll just remember because this is a high priority. Give it 2 months. Tell me if you remember.
Got it. Good point.
Planet.
Great point.
If you're not tracking the info, if you don't have all the information on those companies, if you don't have a targeting process, if that process isn't reflected in your CRM, if your sales process does not follow your pipeline where you're jumping over deal stages, all of that stuff, or if you don't know who you're selling to or who your target is, you're not collecting enough data, you're not tracking things properly, if you don't have an automated form of being able to set up meetings, if you don't have follow-up protocols, auto task creation, all that stuff. If you see a lot of gaps in your process that are not actually helping you, but rather hurting you, slowing things down, or making things go stale, that's what you're looking for.
Hey, there's Dr. Rob giving you a little diagnosis there. If you're feeling these symptoms, you might want to look at it, at least do some research, talk to some associates that you know are successful in this area. Rob can be a part of that conversation. But Rob, what other visuals do you have for us today as we kind of wrap up this part of the conversation?
So, yes, now it's critical, and we touched upon this, but it's critical for any CRM that you use to integrate flawlessly into the apps that you need. So, for example, here's the HubSpot icon, here's the Calendly icon. Calendly integrates with HubSpot. HubSpot has its own meeting tool, which is arguably better than Calendly's. But if you're someone like me who's a consultant who takes payments, HubSpot now allows that, but it's a bit better with Calendly. But the integration's not that great with Calendly because you can have Calendly custom field 1, 2, 3, 4 through 10. And with that, it'll overlap. If you have a separate meeting link that you use for like an onboarding or something, any of those custom slots that were once pre-filled before from the initial meeting that had information, it gets overwritten. So there's issues with that. you need to be very careful about the CRM that you choose. So that way, if you're not using a CRM yet, think about all the technologies you currently use. If your CRM that you choose does not integrate with all of those, and or you don't have a go-to solution that is something you could switch from one of the current technologies you're using to another one that's better, that does integrate, that is not the CRM for you. If no CRMs integrate with the technologies that you're using, that means that you're using technologies that you should probably drop and find a replacement for, because there's no way for you to have a uniform or universal idea of what your data looks like, of what your client base looks like, of what your prospect base looks like. It creates a lot of disconnect. So you want to make sure that the CRM that you choose has not only all the features, all of the outreach capabilities, and I wouldn't even say outreach capabilities, because there's a lot of things that integrate, like, with HubSpot, let's use that since it's on the screen here. HubSpot, their sequencing, I mean, it's terrible. Though I love HubSpot to death. I use it myself, but their sequencing is terrible. Why? Because you have to individually and manually add people by their email address into the sequence for like email automation, right? Unless the marketing side is different. That's flawless. But for the sales side, the one-to-one outreach. Now, Outplay HQ, I spoke about them before. That integrates flawlessly, and it's for scalable one-to-one outreach for email sequencing, sales email sequencing, marketing email sequencing, all of that. There's an auto dialer built in, because HubSpot does not have auto dialing capabilities. Their phone capabilities are awesome, but it's not built to be an auto dialer. It's built to be a customer relationship management platform, a CRM. It's not a sales automation platform. So just because it doesn't have those features doesn't mean it's a bad CRM. You just need to add another piece to the puzzle that'll make it there. So you need to evaluate the entire landscape, the whole ecosystem that you have, and make the decisions accordingly. Or
step number 0, right, Rob, is, as people are booking appointments or scheduling things using Calendly or some other scheduling platform, that needs to get into your CRM at some point. And if that's like baseline, like if that's not happening, we got a problem, amigos. Like this really needs to shift. And so thanks for bringing that example up, because that's a really hard and fast example that you probably
and not only that, it's if you're duplicitous or you have redundancies where your CRM, let's say the one that you're using, has a perfectly good sequencing, but unlike HubSpot in this case, let's say your CRM has perfectly good sequencing technology built into it. And you could do that outreach. It's not common that a CRM has it. Go High Level actually has that. There's great email sequencing in Go High Level. I'm not a big proponent of Go High Level because the lack of integratability. It's all done through Zapier. There's no direct API integrations. And that's something you really need to look for. But you don't want to buy another technology that is redundant. Where I once worked with a company. They were an HR software company out in the UK. They had 4 different technologies that all 4 had more than effective and decent email sequencing capabilities. They had 4 technologies that did the exact same thing, and they had no idea there was redundancy because a different team was using each of those technologies separately, and then they weren't actually integrating together, so they had no idea that people were getting emailed in other systems. They had no idea what activity's been happening. So you want to make sure that the CRM that you get does not duplicate more of what you're already using because you think you need it. Now, you can always drop those other services, but if the CRM has a really crappy version of it, even though it has it, great, it has it and all, but if it's not a good version of it, stick with what you have before and then find another CRM that doesn't have that feature because you don't need it, unless there are no other options that don't have that feature that don't fit your needs.
Got it. And you can walk us through more of that if we contact you and scan the QR code on the screen, or
QR code on the screen just sets a meeting with me. That's all. It's free.
Oh, okay. Okay. So just set a meeting, mention the Giver broadcast. You'll get some extra love from Rob. There's also a way to reach out to him on LinkedIn. Obviously, you can look up his name, Rob Turley, and he will show up with that big old smile and be able to help you the best he can. Okay.
I'm addicted to problem solving. So if you got a problem, I'm your guy. It's the most fun for me just to talk it through. Even if you don't do business with me, I'm still going to give you enough to be able to make a difference.
Hey, and you have some fun projects happening behind the scenes right now that are about to go boom. And I think that if we have a couple seconds, we can talk about that too. But ultimately, people just need to reach out to you so they can learn a little bit, solve a little bit of these problems, make a lot of money moving forward, serve their clients more effectively and efficiently, and that'll be good for you.
I've
Okay,
had
so
cases where going through the process, implementing a new CRM process architecture, GTM strategy, and targeting process resulted in a 16x increase in pipeline in only 3 months. I have actual case scenarios of that. It's crazy. It's crazy what it does for you.
come on, ladies and gentlemen. If that doesn't get you excited, you're not supposed to be in business. Like that's super fun. I love hearing success stories, and if somebody's gone to that level of engagement with a client and seeing that level of success, you at least want to talk to them for a few minutes. So grab a time on the calendar. Now's the time to do that, or look them up on LinkedIn and say, hey, give me that giver bonus.
Feel free to connect with me in any way you'd like. That's my cell number on there too. And if you just want to ask me a question and that's all you want from me, that's fine. Happy to help.
Okay, cool. Glad. Great presentation today. Thanks for the visuals today, Rob. We're going to go ahead and pull down the presentation piece and bring on some other people from the Giver Marketing Network to be able to ask some questions, be able to have a dialogue here. We're going to bring in Taylor, bring in Christine Dean. We're going to have a good little roundtable discussion here. And those
I didn't even know this was going to be happening. I like this. This is awesome.
Yeah, we're going to have some good times today. We're going to have some comments coming through as well. Some we might post on the screen. Some we might just hold for later. But it's so good to be able to have a roundtable discussion and maybe even bring up some of the comments from those who are watching live. And we'll be able to do that. So, Christine, for initial thoughts, I know that you and I have dove into this just a little tiny bit so that people can get their feet wet. But Rob helped us go kind of waist deep today. Like, just think about this a little bit differently. So I
tried keeping it simple. I tried.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, you are always the best when it comes to processes and putting systems in place and seeing how it all ties together. And I know for me, when it comes to CRMs, I always say that's the backbone of your business.
It is.
Right? Everything else ties to that. And I work with a lot of small businesses and solopreneurs, and they're usually intimidated when it comes to selecting a CRM. Any suggestions on how to just get them to just do it, right? They're afraid to get started even.
Generally, it's a knowing doing gap, and generally it's lack of education around it. Choosing a CRM is a very permanent decision. That's part of the problem with it. That's why CRMs are usually not worried about churn, because it just migrating off of it once you've gone far enough is just the worst thing ever. Unless you have someone like myself or a migration specialist that's able to do it, then they take that up, but that's an expensive process, like I mentioned before. So choosing the right CRM is absolutely critical. That is intimidating. All it takes is a conversation with someone who knows what they're talking about to be able to take that step. The education around, okay, you want this CRM, not because I have a partnership with them and I'll get some sort of revenue share, which happens all the time with consultants, and I do not respect that at all. You have to be non-biased completely. And it's, okay, what are your processes? What does your sales process look like? What is your future sales process or initiative going to look like? Looking at the full scope from end to end. So from X to Y by when, except you go from Y back to X. That's the goal, right? You need to look at it from the end point all the way back to where you started. It's not about the delta. The how is irrelevant because it's constantly changing. So it's just about Y to X. What is that going to entail? What will you need to make that possible? And then you choose the CRM accordingly. Buy a little bit more than you need if you buy something new, because if you buy less than you need, you're going to regret it, because that more is never going to come. When the more happy, you don't want to give yourself an artificial glass ceiling simply because you got something that was a couple bucks less and didn't have all the features that you needed.
Good advice. And I almost want to call you the reverse engineered RevOps Hitman, because you're using these terms that help us think backwards and walk backwards in the movie and just make sure that we know what we're getting into as we kind of choose our direction. And what are those books where you choose your own journey, or choose your own
choose your own adventure?
Yeah, choose your own adventure. It's written in the second person instead of the third or the first.
Yeah, I love it. So you're going to help us do that. Okay. So, hey, Taylor, I know that you're in the game, marketing, communications kind of game, and and you're big on sales. What are your thoughts around this conversation? Do you have any questions? Let's make sure and unmute you as well, just to make sure that you can ask any questions.
What's happening? Yeah, good to be here. Giver Marketing. It's been a while. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any particular questions off the top of my head. Maybe a couple of comments. Definitely.
I'm sure you do. You can hit me.
Yeah, I mean, it'll spark up here in a minute. But I mean, definitely just after listening to Rob, I guess I got to raise my prices. That's the first comment. Second is I love your vast knowledge on all the different CRMs. You know, it's very helpful, especially with what you specialize in. You guys, I mean, I'm a Go High Level advocate just because it's so intuitive. It's like Legos for adults, the way you can build it out. And one thing that, okay, I do have a question.
With someone like me who's a RevOps guy, it's like the bane of my existence when things don't integrate directly.
Well, it has an open API. I noticed you said it doesn't, but it does.
No, it doesn't have marketplace items that integrate with direct API. It has some, but it's not like HubSpot where they're all direct API where it feeds into itself perfectly. It's usually Zapier driven. And then you have to pay for Zapier. It never integrates. You want it to. The way that the data structure is for normalization when you're doing data analytics does not make the cut. Like there's a lot of different attributes when you're looking at it from the deeper perspective that it doesn't have. But for the user, it's cake. That's the thing, is that to the end user, it's fantastic. But to someone like me, it's a nightmare.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for clarifying that. And then you also mentioned like Go High Level can get messy when you're building it. So you said data, like let's say you're pushing 5,000 contacts through. Oh, am I still here?
Yep, you're still here. We can hear you.
Okay, I don't know what happened to my screen, but as long as you can hear me. So let's say you're pushing 5,000 contacts through Go High Level, and you said it can start to get messy or kind of break. What can you kind of elaborate on that? What you meant?
So you have to wait for it because you can only do so many pings per second unless you get the enterprise version of Zapier. But then also the data flow through that can go through of how it integrates. Let's say you want timestamps, things like that, of when the person engaged with you. It's coming through a sequencing platform, or it's coming through a lead, like a lead acquisition platform or a ClickFunnels or something that you have separate.
Mm-hmm.
When they fill out that form within the ClickFunnels, whatever it may be, and you don't have an embedded form that's part of the CRM, getting those timestamps are difficult because the timestamps may be structured differently or they don't pass through in Zapier because of the way that the data is structured API-wise and how they encode the data. It will not cross over. So a lot of the data tracking, customer insights, buyer insights, all of that does not pass through. Yes, you get the contact data. Yes, you get.
But like you mean the sources.
But you
you
don't get the really in-depth pieces of the puzzle that otherwise would pass through with a direct API integration.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It makes all the difference for predictable pipeline. It makes all the difference from understanding where your customers come from, how they convert, all of that. And someone like me, that data is gold. It's not even gold. It's rhodium. Rhodium's $30,000 an ounce. You know what I mean? So,
Rhodium. He just used rhodium on a broadcast. That's awesome. All right, Rob. When my question for you is, when do you think is the time to look at platforms like HubSpot and say, you know what, I'm kind of outgrowing this. Like even yourself. Like when do you think
HubSpot is completely enterprise scalable, so I don't think you can outgrow that. It just depends if it was the right CRM to choose. You might outgrow it in a sense where you're not outgrowing it. You just, once you've made it far enough down the road, you go, oh wait, this is not what I need. That's different because a lot of people think they're outgrowing a system. No, they just chose the wrong one. And I would say 9 times out of 10, that's what's going on. Like Pipedrive, you can outgrow Pipedrive for sure. And I'm not trying to like talk smack against them or anything. It's a perfectly good CRM. It's just that if you have a company of over 50 people that are working within the CRM, Pipedrive starts falling apart. With Monday.com, that is small enterprise scalable, but after you get to about 1,000 people that are going to be using it, that's when you would outgrow Monday because they don't have those processes that you need. Depends on the CRM that you're using. Go High Level, you'll outgrow that at about 50 to 100 employees. It's just not scalable. When you have that many people using it with Zapier integrations, those zaps start to break, or the data is not flowing through the way that it needs to, and there's massive delay. If there's an issue with the Zap where some data input that a user put into that field, let's say if it's in a different language or they used a glyph or something, and it breaks the system, it shuts it down, all of those leads no longer pass through, then you've got a huge blockage to your pipeline. There's too much risk.
Okay. What about some of these like ads that I see? I just want to try to save people some headache here if I can. What about some of these ads I see that are like almost like pay one time for a lifetime version of this CRM solution, and it's obviously some kind of knockoff. Like there's something going on here. I'm not sure that I can put my finger on it, but can you speak to that?
Yeah, so that could be sketchy at times. It depends. You have to really review what the CRM is. You have to, if you would want a professional to look at it and say, okay, this is what's going on within this CRM. Is it actually worth purchasing or not? One example of one that would work is Crust and Corteza. So they pretty much took Salesforce, everything that was wrong with it, that they thought was wrong with it. It's an ex-developer for Salesforce too, one of the people who built the original implementations of it. They weren't innovating the product, so he left. I'm not gonna name names, but he left. And when he left, he said, they needed to build it like this because the way that it's developed into a B2B solution, there are the resources that are needed, yada, yada, yada. Crust and Corteza one of them is open source where it's free. And then the other, you just pay to customize it, where they'll develop it the way that you want to customize it. If you don't want to use the out of the box, that's how they make their money on that. And then the other one is a paid version where it's more self-customizable. That's an example of one of those that is perfectly feasible. It's a fantastic technology. So there are cases like that. You just need to be very careful. And I would highly recommend having a professional, someone like myself, someone like Taylor, someone like that can take a look at it and say, yes, this is a feasible piece of technology, but don't just make that guess and buy it because it's a one-off payment. You could have just wasted that money or back up technical debt because it wasn't the right choice, and then you'll have to pay a lot more money to migrate and shift everything over.
Yeah,
I know we've all been there, Rob, where you're out searching for CRMs. You click on the websites, the cookies are following you, and then you end up with a bunch of ads, and you're like, this system must be legit, and it's not necessarily the case. Like, you got to be really careful.
Just number one, don't. So let's give those. Don't buy a CRM because the ads were good. Number one. Number two, don't buy a CRM because it has every single sales automation, outreach automation tool built into it. It has a sequencer, and it has an auto dialer, and it has a lead gen tool in it, and it has a click funnel, and it has like SMS automation. Just because it has all those features, that's an all-in-one thing. Sometimes those CRMs are pieces of garbage. So you want to stay away from, yes, it has everything, but that unified solution was so poorly executed, it's going to hurt you more than it's going to help you. You may as well buy a proper CRM, because the CRM's job is not sales automation. That's not what it's for. That's an added feature. So when you're buying a CRM, you're not trying to find all of the sales automation features or outreach automation features within it. That is not the reason to buy a CRM. That's not what a CRM is for. It's a history book. It's for tracking, analyzing, and data, and developing a customer base, having more predictable revenue, forecasting your pipeline, tracking deals. It's meant for that. It is not meant for sales automation. So that's often how people are tantalized into buying a terrible CRM, is that it has all those features. You're better off just buying an external technology that attaches to it. Another don't would be, don't buy a CRM because someone else said it was good.
Okay. All right. Because there's different situations. I'm going to add history.
The last don't. Don't pick one CRM over another because you're trying to save a couple bucks. Do not go cheap on a CRM. Do not do it. Because the really cheap ones may be terrible. They could be good for your business too. You don't know. You need to evaluate it. And don't go for the highest priced one like Salesforce, because often you're going to have to spend another $150,000 to actually build it out. And then more often than not, it's not going to have what it is that you're looking for within a CRM out of the box or anything like that. So it's not the best choice. So don't go all the way high. Don't go all the way low. So what I'm trying to say is, do not buy a CRM because of price point ever.
Okay. So, I mean, if you add up, by the way, I'm going to add the term historian. to your to your conversation here, Rob, because you just dropped a story, and that is a brilliant way to think about a CRM. I really appreciate that. What I'm hearing you say is you can spend hundreds of hours trying to fix a CRM that's not the perfect fit, which is potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. When you add up your time, your dev's time,
I worked the migration for a company that spent $2.4 million customizing a CRM over the past 10 years, and it was the wrong CRM for them. We migrated it, and now they're paying $2,500 a month.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? Like, think about
where
that.
you are, I'm hearing you say, look, you need to evaluate 3 or 4 different things before you make this decision. It's not just one thing, like, oh, it has everything. No, that there's a lot. That
doesn't mean it's good. Just because it has everything does not mean it's good by any means.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, hey, Rob, we're going to land the plane, which it's always difficult to land the plane with you. I'm just being honest.
I'm sorry.
Like, you're like, hey, let's hit nitro. And I'm like, whoa, dude, like we're out of time. Like this is getting really juicy. But if you want more, this is part 2 of what Rob's been kind of sharing with us over the last several months. And I'm sure we'll have a part 3, but if you want a one-on-one with Rob, go ahead and grab that time with him. I'll bring that back up on the screen now.
Oh, yeah. You were mentioning before, Timothy, one of the projects that you probably want to talk about is Data Explorer and having.
I was hinting.
That'll have everything under the sun. Know everything about everyone in any way that you want. Any prospect, any client, being able to get everything from their interests, their core personal values, what they have affinities toward, what restaurants they like to eat at, what type of brands that they like to buy. What their purchasing behavior looks like, everything all in one for less than half of the price of Zoom Info, because it's about time somebody provided a good data resource.
So you're building a Zoom Info competitor right now, and I wasn't going to say it because I didn't want to.
We don't want to compete with Zoom Info. That's not the goal. It's starting out that way, but it's more so for market insight and insights, predictable marketing, predictable selling. That way, you know precisely building your ICP. We're going to be building auto segmentation, auto ICP building, where it's going to segment them out, and then being able to match make those all the way down to that level of specificity I was talking about before, to find more people like them, so you can take a more targeted, quality over quantity approach in a segmented way for a much, much, much higher conversion rate.
So you're building basically a government level, fact-finding machine that helps you connect with the right people. I like this. This is good.
That's a really good way to put it, actually. I might quote you on that.
All right. Well, hey, that's a good teaser for next time, Rob. And we're excited to hear about the progress of Data Explorer. I've been hearing a lot behind the scenes. So that
tells already spoke to the team, too, is that Giver Marketing Network members are going to get a sizable discount because you're a Giver Marketing Network. So if you're part of the group, you're going to get treated accordingly. So the way that you should, which is, top notch.
That's a great way to land the plane right there with a little bit of blessing, a little bit of humor, a little bit of teaser, and let's have some fun. Reach out to Rob Turley, everybody. Thank you, Taylor.
Timothy,
thank you, Christine.
Taylor.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Rob, I'll be reaching out. See ya.
Awesome.
Christine, what do you got for us as a kind of a let you know about upcoming events? Like, what do we got going here?
Absolutely. On Wednesdays, we always have networking for marketers. So don't be a lonelypreneur. Come hang out with us. We love working together, finding ways to collaborate, and the tide rises all. So let's rise everybody up together. So you want to go to givermarketing.com/networking. Register once, save the link.
If you're in the marketing, communications, or media space, and you're finding yourself needing to bounce some ideas, do some white labeling projects, collaborate, just be a part of a team, and feel what it's like to be a part of something significant together again. That's where you want to be. givermarketing.com/networking. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Partnerships are the new sales. I'm telling you. Yes.
Love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Christine. Talk to you soon. Woohoo. Good work.